Okay, this is part 4 of Federalist number 16. These are some of the major rivers of the United States. I know you can't read them, but this is the Tennessee. This is the Ohio. And this is the Mississippi, starting all the way up there. And notice Missouri comes this way, and then Mississippi comes right all the way down here, which is the Gulf of Mexico. This is the Red River, Arkansas River, Platte River. This is Rio Grande, which borders Mexico in the United States. This is the Colorado River. Up there, this is called Snake River, and that's Colombia. And of course, Hudson is right up there, and there are thousands of small rivers and streams and ravines. Just wanted to show you this map because I want you to think about, in the 18th century, the best way to carry large cargo and trade is by ships, right? And that happens with rivers. Now there's a river here which is not on our map, okay, but that comes all the way down here and goes through part of Canada, and then you can connect to the Atlantic. This is the Atlantic on this side. So I want you to keep this in mind. Most of the rivers are where they can carry different things to different parts of the world. These control of the rivers, like I've already said, control of the Mississippi was extremely important to the Southerners that were going to settle here and create new states. And you will find that as soon as the United States becomes a nation, you will see they'll think of canals. And what are canals? It's just small man-made rivers, except not necessarily the water doesn't flow in it. They just use it to put boats on it, and they pull these boats with mules and different things to carry large amounts of cargo. One of the first canals goes from here, from the Hudson River, all the way there. Okay, this little area. Of course, on this camera, you think it's a small area, but it's huge when you compare it with, let's say, the area in Europe. So just keep this in mind as we go along, because the idea of distance and how vast and how big the United States is very important, because remember, I showed you those colonies are right here, okay? Just this little small part. So they've got all this land, and all that land was populated with Native Americans. But unfortunately, as we know, as the settlers made it to the West, unfortunately, the Native Americans were either pushed back, harassed, killed, and you will read the history. It's pretty sad, but for us to understand the foundation of America, you have to remember what this vast land meant to them. It's plenty of land, plenty for everybody to take, and that just automatically makes your psyche, the way you think, different from the way everybody had thought before that. Europeans were locked in a small piece of land, and to them, to that civilization, the idea of so much land for everybody was just not perceptible. Okay, now I will continue with paragraph 4 of Federalist number 16. This may be considered as the violent death of the Confederacy. He starts this paragraph with this sentence because he has been explaining up to now that if the new states go and build 3-4 confederacies out of these 13 states, we will eventually end up going to war against one another. There will not be any peace, there will not be any prosperity, because ambitious men in those 3-4 confederacies will want to show themselves. They'll lie, they'll come up with an excuse to say somebody in one of the other confederacies has wronged them, and they'll find a way to start a war. When you start a war, everybody wants revenge, and this will go on and on and on, and you'll have death and mayhem, and you won't have peace and prosperity. So that's where he starts. Then he continues, it's more natural death is what we now seem to be on the point of experiencing. He's like the Confederacy we have been under the Articles of Confederation. We're starting to see its natural death. Its time has come. If the federal system be not speedily renovated in a more substantial form. So if you don't listen to us and don't accept this new constitution, which is a renovation, he calls it a renovation, of the old system, we will come to war and destruction. It is not probable, considering the genius of this country, that the complying states would often be inclined to support the authority of the Union by engaging in a war against the non-complying state. So he says, let's say we are a confederacy of 13 nations, and we don't accept this new union. What will happen is, when we say a part of this union is not paying or is not complying, it's not sending us enough militia for us to do our job. If a part is complying, they are doing what they're supposed to, and a part is non-complying, a part is not doing what they're supposed to, they will eventually get mad at each other, and one side would want to see the other side crushed and brought to their knees so that they will listen and they will participate in the work of union. And then sometimes they would always be more ready to pursue a milder course of putting themselves upon an equal footing with the delinquent members by an imitation of their example. And sometimes they say, why should we pay and the other side does not pay and comply? We will be just like them. We won't comply as much either. We won't pay you what you need. They would imitate the other side. They will do just like the other side has done. And the guilt of all would thus be the security of all. All of them will say, okay, we are guilty, the other side is guilty too. And this way they just lie to themselves and make themselves vulnerable to destruction, to foreign influence, to war amongst themselves. I think I'm going to run out of memory here, so I'll continue in the next video.